Have you ever wondered, maybe I'm a psychic? Well, today we are going to be talking about your psychic abilities and how to harness them and train them so they can grow a lot stronger over time. Yes, baddies, let's get right into it.
Hi, I'm Anais, psychic medium, and this is my show, the Love Potion Podcast, where it's all love here.
I'm going to start off by saying that everybody is intuitive. Everybody has intuition. You think about people having gut reactions where they say, I didn't think, I just did. That is your intuition. That is you literally just trusting your gut and going with the process. And everybody has it. But some people just pay a little bit extra attention to it and listen to it a little bit deeper. And therefore it becomes one of their superpowers and they are known as psychic. So it's just a little bit stronger of a version of just your regular everyday intuition. But everybody has it and everybody can be a psychic if they really, really want to. And if they really put their time and their energy and their emotion into their intuition and understanding the different interworkings of their brain. Intuition can definitely be extremely hard to break down and understand, especially if you have different mental health problems or just other things going on in your brain constantly, because that can really distract or take away from your intuition. Your intuition speaks the loudest when you are at your quietest and when you are at your most peaceful. That is why a lot of times people have very intense dreams that can sometimes end up coming true, or that just really speak about their life, or sometimes they'll have dreams where they'll actually see crossed loved ones and they'll get a visitation from them. That is all your intuition, and it's because when we are sleeping, our frontal lobe is shut off and we're at our most relaxed. So that means that our intuitive thoughts will easily flow through to us and will have no resistance or no barrier to them. But again, it doesn't just have to hit you while you're sleeping. A lot of you probably already get intuitive insights. Maybe you've already had a few inklings and you're just really wanting to explore this world a little bit further. Well, you've definitely come to the right place, because I'm going to explain it in the simplest terms possible and really explain everything very thoroughly, so that way you can understand everything in a much more clear basis. So whenever you think about psychic abilities, a lot of people talk about the clairs and what exactly are the clairs and how can I describe them as best as possible, because whenever I've seen YouTube videos about the clairs, they're never as clear as I want them to be. And especially when you're like growing this gift, it's so confusing and there's so much information out there. So I just want to make it as point blank simple as possible so you guys can really start to channel and hone those gifts. First, let's talk about clairvoyance. Your clairvoyance is basically just your clear seeing. So it can be anything from pictures to TV shows to movies that are flashing on your screen in your brain. Now, what do I mean by in your screen on your brain? And I always love to do this exercise with people. So let's start off by just picturing a tree, okay? That's all you gotta do is just pull up a picture of a tree in your mind and just think about it. Try to envision the bark, try to see the leaves. And if you are one of those people that literally cannot picture things in your mind, you probably will not be able to be clairvoyant, because it is so important and so key that you are able to picture things vividly in your mind. Okay, so if you're seeing a tree right now, right, that is your screen. It is where you daydream. So while you're picturing a tree, definitely try to notice the bark, notice the leaves, try to see them blowing in the wind, and really, really, really just make it very vivid and imagine it in your mind. And that is where your screen is. So there is where pictures of people will flash. It's where movies will play, TV shows will play, old memories will play, certain random scenarios will play in that screen. It's where you go go to daydream during the day, where it's like you're not necessarily asleep, but you're not really paying attention to what's in front of you. You are really like in your brain, but like your eyes are open. Sometimes your eyes are closed too. Like sometimes if it's getting really vivid, then you'll kind of like close your eyes, you know? Sometimes if you want to see things a little bit in higher definition, we'll close our eyes to really observe and look at it in a more detailed manner. So yeah, so that is the most detailed description that I can give of your screen. So let's do exercise number 2, which is going to be, let's just look at a memory of a movie in your mind, your favorite movie. Can you think of your favorite movie scene and just play it as vividly as you possibly can, or just scenes from your favorite movie? Just start there and just see it in your mind, see it happening in your mind. That is your screen. That is where your clairvoyance will be happening. So I wanted to make that as clear as possible because it is so confusing when you're first beginning and people are talking about seeing things. It's not like hallucinations. You should never, ever, ever be seeing things in front of you, okay? That is something that like maybe advanced mediums will have happen, but it's a split second. It's never prolonged. It's not hallucinations, okay? It is always in that portion of your mind where you can clearly see what's happening, okay? So when talking about clairvoyance further, we think about, again, movies playing in your mind or TV scenes playing in your mind. So an example of this would be whenever I'm giving like a tarot reading and it's specifically about love, sometimes they'll pull up romance movies in my mind that I've seen before that will pertain to this particular relationship and the issue, or maybe like just the wonderful side of it that's happening. And so they bring up that movie to basically show me that that is what this person is experiencing. Does that make sense? Definitely let me know down below. The same thing happens again with your real life. So say for example, again, you're giving a tarot reading and it's about somebody's like career or their family or something. And then all of a sudden you see something from your life that happened that is playing in your mind that maybe had to do with a family member or with a career or with a relationship. And that ends up really applying to the person as well. The other crazy thing that's happened to me with my clairvoyance is sometimes I will see people, like a picture of a person that I know will flash in my mind, and then all of a sudden I'll be like walking on the street and then I'll turn the corner and there that person is. So that's another example of clairvoyance where it's just like a little bit of a snapshot or a picture. You know, it's very fast and your intuition is so fast. It's faster than your actual thoughts. So it's never something that you have to like think about. It will just sort of happen, you know? So basically what I was trying to say with that is not to overthink it, because again, the brain processes something in something like 0.5 seconds. Your intuition is faster than your brain can even process or can even think. So when we did the exercise of pulling up a tree in your mind, that is taking time to pull up that tree. So therefore, that is not necessarily intuition. Whereas, yes, ghost, your intuition will come in immediately and you won't even have to think about it. The less you think, the better, okay? That is how the intuition does its thing. The next clair would be clairaudience, and that means clear hearing. Now, again, that doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to be hearing things out loud, okay? That is not where the hearing is happening. The hearing is happening in your mind. And clairaudience can come through in a lot of different ways. But for the most important part, it should always be in your own voice, unless, of course, it's something like a song or something that a relative may have said to you. And again, this is what sets it apart from something like a hallucination, because it is not in other people's voices. Like, I'm not hearing voices, I'm hearing my own voice, okay? And it's saying things, certain like words or phrases to me that I might have heard before. Or again, I might hear lines from a movie or lines from a TV show. I might hear songs or music or exactly like certain points of a song, certain sections of the lyrics that are very important. You might hear previous conversations that you've had in the past. You might hear single words or phrases or emotions, especially when you're first starting. It's really hard to sort of trust the feeling aspect of your intuition. So your spirit guides will be very helpful in giving you little glimpses of like, yes, here's this. Here's a word that means love. And then you'll be like, oh yeah, love. Okay, there we go. So like say for example, you're thinking about somebody, right? And then all of a sudden a song pops into your head. Really try to listen in to what that song is. What are the lyrics that are being said in that song? Because it definitely has some significance to the exact situation that you're in right now. The same thing goes for if you're giving a reading to somebody. What are the words or phrases that are popping into your head about this connection or whatever problem they're going through or whatever they're asking about in their life? You know, what are those words or phrases that are popping into your head? A lot of the time too, your clairs will interact with each other. So clairvoyance and clairaudience will come through together. Like especially if there's a movie scene being played in your head, you'll probably not just see the scene that's happening, but you'll also probably like hear either like a synopsis of what happened, or you'll hear the exact lines of like what they're saying in that. And that is your clairaudience. So this next one that we're going to touch on, when I was reading about this everywhere, everybody would always be like, clairsentience is the rarest form of all the clairs. When in reality, I think it's actually the opposite. I think that clear feeling is actually one of the easiest. Because think about it though. So say that you're giving a reading to somebody and all of a sudden you see something in your mind that happened to you, something that happened to your family or something like that, or a relationship that you had. What does that do? It invokes an emotion in you. And so it's all about you sort of tapping into that emotion of how was I feeling at that time, and really empathizing with yourself and understanding why was I feeling like that. So say again, for example, you guys are giving a reading to somebody and all of a sudden you see like one of the relationships, a breakup that you had that was like very drastic, life-changing, okay? Not just like one of those little breakups that you've had or whatever in the past, but a big life-changing one. So then you would say to this person, I see that you've had like a very life-changing breakup, okay? Because again, you would be relating to this person in the sense that they've also gone through something that really shook and changed their life and caused them to feel this way. And it was this breakup. And again, so you guys will not only see that in your mind, but then you'll also really feel that because you've experienced yourself. That's why it's extremely important for you guys to feel those emotions and go out there and experience life and not be afraid to experience life, because something that happened to you might just help somebody else. And showing that you have become a successful person and, you know, a happy person, regardless of your circumstances, will really encourage other people to do the same thing. And you never know, you might have some really secret, untapped advice that person is just really needing to hear, okay? So always trust your intuition and trust that there's a reason why your spirit guides, their spirit guides would be bringing it up too, okay? Another instance could be like, say you're out on a date with somebody and then all of a sudden something like flashes in your mind that makes you think of another person or partner that like did you dirty or like something like that. That can be like a little bit of a sign or like an indicator that maybe this person has a little bit similar energy. So feel them out and proceed with caution, okay? So it's all about just like feeling every single day life and, you know, going through the motions and really connecting with yourself and empathizing with yourself and previous situations that you've been in, and trying to understand why you might have done something or why something happened, and really try to look deeper into your own life. And that will help you unlock so many other of your intuitive feelings and emotions and, you know, healings and processings. And it's just beautiful. The next one, and probably the last one I'll talk about that is pretty big, is going to be claircognizance. And that is a clear knowing. Like you just know when something is going to happen. And this is a pretty powerful and intense gift, but it's also a little bit scary because you definitely know when something is going to happen. I like to think of Alison Dubois, psychic medium, when she said that she knew that her dad was going to die in 2 years, and she just knew it, and she did everything in her power that she could do to prevent that from happening, and it still didn't work, and he ended up passing away. But that is a little bit more morbid of an example of something that is claircognizance, where it's clear knowing. You just know that something's going to happen, and sometimes you really don't want to know, but you just do. Some people just know that they're going to be famous, or some people just like know, oh, something bad is going to happen today, or I feel like your job is going to come in like in 2 weeks. Like these people are they know when something's going to happen. Another thing would be like some people can also tell exactly when the phone is going to ring and who it's going to be who's calling. So sometimes they'll be like, Aunt Stacy's going to call, and then all of a sudden 2 seconds later, Aunt Stacy is calling you. She's on the phone right now. And it's literally so crazy, but it happens. Some people just have that extremely clear knowing. Now, for me, I like to stay a little bit more in the unknown, okay? I don't always like to know specifically when something is going to happen. I like to know that something is going to happen. For example, I like to know when a dramatic change is going to occur in my life, but I don't like to know specifically when that's going to be happening, if that makes sense. So these people are very good at like times and dates, and like this is going to happen at this specific time, and like they're very, very good at clear knowing. I just know that this is going to happen. I just have this dreaded sense, or this feeling, or this emotion, this happy joy that this is going to happen. Another way that I like to think of it too is like sometimes you again just know that something bad is happening because of like that gut feeling or that gut reaction. But sometimes our anxiety or nervousness or nerves or whatever wants to make us believe that something bad is happening, but our gut is like so calm. Like our gut is like, weirdly, I'm okay. Like weirdly, due to the external circumstances, like regardless of everything that's going on in the world, I'm okay. And that feels weird. But that is your gut, and that's your knowing that everything is going to be okay. And even in times where you are feeling uncertain, you really do feel like, the worst is about to come. That is why I love intuition, is because you just don't feel alone anymore. Like you really do feel like you are supported by something else, specifically your spirit guides. I like to call them my angels, my angel team. But you just know that you are always supported by them and that they always have your back. And you just feel so much less alone on this planet, especially when you're going through transitionary times or tower moments or death moments or anything like that that could be happening in your life. Like it just is so nice and comforting to know that they've got my back, and ultimately everything is going to be okay, because it always is. So yes, there is a few little positive mentions, Claire mentions, that I wanted to mention here. One of them, I didn't even know the name of this, so I'm gonna have to look at it. Clairaudience, okay? Clairaudience? I don't know how to say that. I'm sorry, guys. Clairaudience? But it's basically clear smelling, and then there was another one that's like clear tasting as well. And so those ones are a lot more rare, but I like to think of clear smelling as like, happening on a more frequent basis, particularly after one of your loved ones has crossed over, and you might smell their perfume. You just randomly in the air. You might smell cigar smoke in the air just randomly, and that might make you think of somebody, or cigarette smoke or something, but there's no there, and then it goes away like pretty much immediately, and there's no way that would like just be around you. Like there's none of like this person's clothes around you or anything like that. And so that would be like your clairaudience, where you're smelling something. And it will sometimes come in too to make you maybe think of like perfumes, or again, it might strike a memory of somebody particular to you that might make you then think of something. So that is where the Clairaudience might come in. Or again, one time I like smelled this very strong like floral perfume just like coming at me, but there was nobody around me, and so I was like, where is this coming from? Like, it's just like in the air. And then all of a sudden it went away. And then a few minutes later, this woman passed by me that I knew, and her name was Lily. And so I was like, that's kind of funny, because it's like I smelled flowers and her name is a flower. And so, yeah, that was a little bit weird. And then, yeah, the clear tasting. So sometimes you'll taste things in your mouth that make you feel certain memories or invoke certain things. You'll taste like, I don't know why I was thinking of like limoncello, but like maybe it'll taste like limoncello in your mouth, and that'll make you think of like summers in Italy, you know, or just something like that. That is just clear tasting. You just taste it. But again, it's only for a split second. It's always literally in the amount of time that it takes for your brain to process it. And then the second that your brain processes it, it's gone. And so that is why when we talk about the next topic here, which is channeling your intuition and how to make it stronger, it's all about listening to it and amplifying it. So again, like I was saying, whenever you hear a song, listen to that song. What is that song that's playing in your mind? You know, what is the emotion behind the song? Is it happy? Is it sad? Is it love? Is it, you know, something to do with any of those? And then what are the lyrics, the specific lyrics that are playing in your mind? Because a lot of the time, that verse or that phrase or something to do with those specific lyrics will pertain to the situation that you are going through currently, okay? So that is how I like to amplify that. So when the song is playing in my head, I will basically listen in to that song, and I'll be very quiet. So I won't say anything. Like I can have other people talking around me, you know, but I can't listen to them with my ears because I'm listening with my mind. So I'm quieting my physical self, so that way I can listen with my consciousness, my intuition, and hear what is trying to come through. And then I'm amplifying it. So I'm making it louder, and I'm listening to the words. I'm trying to listen to the song as loud as I possibly can. And you can even say, like, spirit guides, turn it up for me, turn up the volume, you know, like I'm ready to hear this a little bit more. I'm ready to see this a little bit more. You can turn up that volume, okay? And they will do that for you. And then at times too, make sure that you also turn it down whenever it's feeling like a little bit too strong. Maybe you're being a little bit too empathetic with other people, and you need to come back into yourself a little bit and, you know, stop people pleasing. And so you have to kind of come back in and turn down the dial just a little bit, maybe turn it up in another area, you know. And then again, when it comes to your clear seeing, if you are seeing a show playing in your head, watch the show, pay attention to it for a second. And again, it passes with the time that we have here. So if people are trying to talk to you while the scene is playing in your head, you're not going to be able to see it, because like this other person that's physically in front of you is distracting too much. I always put it into scientific terms, but it's the only way that I can explain it. Too much your frontal lobe. And if this is like talking too much to you, then you can't hear or like listen in to this portion of your brain, like more of the back. And again, if somebody is physically talking to you, that is so distracting. So it's like, how can you like try to, you know, listen in to what's going on in your mind if somebody is talking at you or yelling at you, or you have music blaring, or, you know, just other things going on around you that are clearly just like a little bit too distracting. So that's why you really have to go to like quiet places, so that way these thoughts and these, you know, emotions and the videos and the movies and everything can sort of like play through your mind, and you can discuss it. You can think about it. You know, I like to call it discussing it with your spirit team, but it's really just having that inner conversation with yourself and being like, okay, why am I thinking about this? What situation does this pertain to? And how does this make me feel about the situation? Then what steps do I need to take in order to sort of implement the advice or this intuitive thought that I'm getting in order to, you know, help aid the situation or continue to make the situation amazing and great. So then again, if they're playing a scenario of something in your mind that is happening or that has happened to you in the past, you are going to watch that scenario and you are going to observe it and you're going to say, okay, how was I acting in this situation? How was the other person acting in this situation? How did this make me feel? And then because of this emotion, how does that translate then to the message that I'm trying to receive? Or how does that translate then to, what I'm thinking about currently and the situation that I'm in currently? And I know there's like a bunch of people out there that will like recommend those intuitive exercises that are like, try to see what's on the back side of this card. And it's like yes, sometimes like you can, do that and you can get really good at it if you want to. But to me, it's just like, it's not like that, Your intuition is your emotion, and those cards carry no emotion. So that's why when you guys are growing your own intuition, it actually really does help to have somebody else that you can sort of practice with, somebody that you can give readings to and say, this is what I'm seeing, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I'm hearing. And then the other person can validate that for you and say, yes, this is exactly what I'm going through and this is exactly what I'm experiencing, But you can also be that validation for yourself. And it's really kind of magical, like especially if you're thinking about something and maybe it's really getting you down and then all of a sudden you hear Be All Right by Ariana Grande in your head and it's like, we're gonna be all right. And then it's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna be fine. This situation, everything is gonna be okay. It's all about like really coaching yourself to listen to those little whispers, as people call them, because your intuition is so quiet when you first start because it's hardly used and it's hardly exercised. Whereas like when you're a kid, it's super loud because, and they call it imagination, which it is, part of it definitely is, but a lot of it also is intuition, because if you're imagining it and, it's like, for example, you're a kid and you're imagining being a movie star, there is something in you that wants to be a movie star, that wants to, maybe be seen in that kind of way, or have your story told in that kind of way. So it's really, really interesting. And, kids are so creative and they're so intuitive and they're so imaginative and beautiful. And then we go to school and we learn about logic, which we also really, really, really need for our intuition. Because a lot of the time people think about intuition, they think, oh, I'm turning off the logic. When in reality, it's like, no, it's actually the opposite of that. Like whenever you get an intuitive hit, you then have to think about it to understand and logically like sort of deduce, why is that intuitive thought coming into my head? And so again, your intuition is faster than your thoughts. So it's not something that you are thinking about. You are processing the intuitive thought. That is where then your frontal lobe is coming back into play, because it is still processing whatever it is that was put into your head, or that was like, the intuitive little whisper that you got. So again, to break it down level by level, okay? I see a beautiful 13 going on 30 movie scene in my mind where she is like holding the house and she is like crying, right? It's at the end of the movie. And then I'm empathizing with, okay, what's going on in that scene? Well, and this is a spoiler, she's crying because she didn't end up with her true soulmate, and she ended up with the life that she thought that she wanted, when in reality it wasn't the life that she wanted at all. And so I'm empathizing with that situation, and then now I'm processing it and I'm thinking about, okay, so then how does this apply to my life? Or how does this apply then to my client's life, the person that I'm giving a reading to, or whatever's going on in the world? And so then you're sort of thinking about and breaking it down. She made like these wrong decisions with her romantic relationship. So then when it comes to like my client that I'm reading for here, I would then say like, you're probably feeling regrets and feeling like maybe you chose the wrong soulmate or the wrong path, especially when it comes to love. And you went after something that you thought that you wanted, but it really ended up being something that wasn't actually what was meant and made for you. So does that make sense, everybody? That's how I'm kind of breaking it down level by level, right? I'm getting the intuitive thought, I'm processing it using my empathy and my feelings, and then I am processing it further using my logic and deducing it and understanding, okay, why am I having this thought and how might this pertain to my client, okay? So isn't that kind of interesting? Or how might this pertain to my life as well? So yeah, I just think it's so cool and so interesting. So a much simpler example would be, say, for example, you see just like a scenario in your mind of somebody being promoted. Again, it's random. It doesn't have to be anybody that you know. I call it like AI generated because it's like they just kind of take like random scenarios, like stock images, and compile them in my mind, and it sort of like makes a scene, you know? So again, you might see like a random person being promoted in your mind. And then all of a sudden you think about, okay, what is that making me feel? Oh, wow, well, that's exciting. I feel like there's a promotion coming in here, right? Like some of them are a little bit more straightforward than others. Some of them you really have to break down and kind of understand the layers of them. But most, like sometimes, especially when you're first starting, they'll give you a lot easier ones like this one, okay? But yeah, it makes me feel like I'm getting this promotion, right? It makes me feel like I'm getting this promotion. So logically, I can deduce that I probably have a promotion coming in here. Or, you know, again, if you're reading for somebody else, they probably have a promotion coming in for them. So that is how you sort of break down those layers and those levels of it. And that's why I say that it takes so much time, because you really do have to empathize and you have to be good at understanding the emotions behind why you're feeling certain things or why, you know, these scenes are being played in your head. I am also just going to do like a mini, teeny tiny collective reading, and I'm actually going to walk you guys through everything that I am seeing, hearing, feeling, knowing, so then you guys can get a better understanding of like how does tarot then translate into intuition and what does that mean, okay? So then it will be like a way easier time for you guys to understand this. Alrighty, so starting off the collective reading, we have the Page of Swords. So I'm gonna let it focus in on this card because if you guys look at him, he looks very indecisive, right? Like he's kind of looking at things from a different angle. And so whenever I see this card, it immediately makes me think of like immaturity or indecisiveness. You don't really quite know where to go, okay? So those are the feelings and the words that sort of pop into my head whenever I'm looking at the person on this card. And that's why I think it's really important that people get very expressive tarot decks for their first beginning ones, or the original Wage Ride Tarot, I forget what it's called, but it's something like that. Wayne's Rider Tarot deck, or the Rider-Waite Smith deck. I totally did not Google that. But I really just recommend starting off with those because they have such vivid imagery, and it's something that you really want to focus on and think about whenever you are doing your readings for yourself. The next card that we have here would be the Three of Cups, okay? So this card always makes me think about celebration, partying, or third-party situations. So somebody is coming in here and potentially, especially with this indecisive energy, right? And so this is where you get the puzzle pieces, right? We get this indecisive energy, we get this third party sort of situation vibes, and then we put the puzzle pieces together, okay? But here's our last puzzle piece. It's this Queen of Swords energy. It is somebody that is very feisty, fiery, knows how to speak their mind and speak their truth. And again, if you look at this Queen of Swords, she does not look like somebody that wants to be messed with. Okay, and how does that make you feel, right? If you even look at her, she looks very cutthroat, right? Like she looks pretty badass, speaks her mind, speaks her truth, knows what she's talking about. So then when it comes to like this situation, right, there could be this Queen of Swords that has a multitude of options, and one of these options is unbelievably indecisive. So again, like if you're reading for like, you know, somebody who's single, this could be that like they have multiple options around them. They're this baddie, they have a lot of attention, but there's one person in particular, this Page of Swords, that for some reason they really, really like, But this Page of Swords just cannot make decisions, cannot be decisive towards them, cannot make moves towards them. Yeah, okay? So therefore, like, the Three of Cups is coming in here because that would mean then that the Queen of Swords is still exploring her options, even though this one person is one of her options. Another situation too could also be that, like, if this person is in a relationship currently, this Queen of Swords, so like it might be you again, and you're inquiring about, you know, your connection, and then all of a sudden you see like the Three of Cups and the Page of Swords, that could mean that like somebody that's been indecisive towards you from your past could be making a re-entrance, like coming in back in here with a third party sort of situation, you know, trying to be a third in your love triangle kind of vibes, you know? So that's the kind of energy that I'm getting from this. And again, it's all sort of just based off of the face value. What am I seeing on those cards? What do the people look like, right? What do they look like on those cards? What are their facial expressions look like? What is going on in the scene, you know? Because again, she looks tough, right? The Three of Cups, these people are throwing a party, right? But the other vibe is like, it could go another way too, where if it's about friendship, maybe this person, their friend who was indecisive towards them in the past, sees them going out and celebrating and having the time of their life with other people, and sees that this person is badass and cutthroat now and doesn't take any shit anymore. And now their indecisive friend is thinking about making a comeback and maybe being like in sort of a triangular situation with a friendship where they're going to try to like split up the two, you and your best friend who just became besties, you know? So there's a lot of different scenarios. And again, that's why it's important to get more than 3 cards, number one. But to also, when you're first starting, to get cards that have really, really, really good expressions, as well as oracle decks. Oracle decks are unbelievably helpful, especially when it comes to understanding and validating the signs and the symbols that are coming to you into your mind. So you can either go out there and actually buy oracle decks. This one is one of my favorites. I don't know if Alice Love Visions Exists still sells this deck, but this is like 2 of them, and the best deck I think I've ever had. She says it's for people who can't read. I say no, sis. It's for people who just want the extra validation, you know? So, and again, you don't necessarily have to go out and buy anything, okay? You can make your own oracle decks at home. I do it all the time, just with note cards, highlighters, pens, pieces of paper. I have little slips of paper like this that I will just write on, scribble on, and you can write everything under the sun on those cards, okay? You can write whatever you want, and that's kind of why I prefer to write my own, because like I can't find a deck out there that says brat, but like I know what brat means, you know, like Charlie XCX kind of energy about an individual, and I feel like who's ever watching this, you definitely got some brat vibes, okay? Yeah, or like Bad Girls Club. Like, who's gonna write Bad Girls Club and know what that means? Like, besides me, like on a piece of paper. Or like you might intuitively understand what that means. But to me, it says something and it means something, you know? It means that you're a little bit of a bad girl. You know how to get down. You know how to party, which makes sense, especially with the Three of Cups coming in here too. So yeah, so that is definitely why I like to write my own cards, because oracle messages can only help validate those initial intuitive thoughts. That's why whenever you see a lot of psychics reading with tarot cards, we start with the tarot cards first, because the oracle cards then only act as validation for what we're saying. And a lot of the time, we as the psychics don't really need that extra validation, but the person that we're reading for tends to need that extra validation that like, yes, what we're saying is legit and like what we're saying is true. And clearly this is coming from like something else, because it's tapping in to you on a deeper level. And wait, before I move on, I just wanted to clarify too that like the reason why I'm able to see these cards and immediately think of something is because like I have really studied the meanings of the cards for myself personally. Like, everybody has their own really kind of meanings to the cards and directions that they want to take the cards. And that's okay. Like, it's all up to you individually, and it's all about your individual intuition as well. So when you see some of these cards, you might think of something else or a different scenario or anything else. Trust it and go with it, because what I say doesn't necessarily go, but this works for me. And a lot of my clients come to me for love advice and for love situations. And so that's why when I see these cards, I see a lot of love interpretations in it. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that too. Alrighty, so here are the oracle messages that came in today. So this one I actually saw in the deck and I was so shocked that it came out. It's beautiful eyes. Also, please do not mind my drawings or sketches, whatever, but you guys definitely have beautiful eyes. So again, this one is an example of something that is super straightforward, right? Like, these cards are definitely a lot more open and up for interpretation, and they sort of depend on the other cards around them, whereas the oracle messages like can be held very separately. Like, beautiful eyes is just so straightforward. Like, clearly if you're watching this, you have very beautiful eyes. You need to be complimented more on your beautiful eyes because they look gorgeous, honey. Okay. Yes. But then the Brittany one that we got for today is, ooh, the record breaker. Yes. Okay. So then again, you see the words on this. What does it make you think about, right? When it comes to like the person that you're reading for. So this Queen of Swords energy, record breaking sort of energy, right? It's telling you that this person probably is very accomplished and that they have a lot of, you know, success under their belt, especially when it comes to breaking some sort of record. It doesn't always have to be so literal either. It can also just be like, hey, yeah, this person, they're so good at this. They might have honestly been awarded for it or gotten some sort of recognition for this. So again, it's very open for interpretation, but that's what I would say about this Queen of Swords energy. So not only do they speak their truth, but I feel like they're very recognized for the fact that they are able to speak their truth. They might even have a career in it where they are able to go around, like spreading their advice or like spreading their word to other people and being very clear cut about it as well. The last oracle card that we have for today would be transformation. Things are changing on a deep cellular level. So I love these oracle cards because they not only have one word at the top, but then they also give you a little bit of a blip at the bottom. Whereas cards like this with the Britney Spears deck, they actually come with an entire booklet where you have to sort of search through it in order to read what the card is about. So again, great for beginners. Please definitely start with something like this, okay? And something like this, along with a little deck and something that you handwrite for yourself, because that way you're getting a very wide spectrum of like advice and, you know, knowledge coming in from a lot of different areas. So then you're getting that validation that you need. Yes, this is what I needed to know. This is what I needed to hear. All right. So yeah, so then when we're thinking about transformation, this person that is inquiring could be going through a major transformation in their life currently. And maybe this indecisive energy that they had is also going through some sort of transformation where they're sort of realizing that the Queen of Swords is that bitch, okay? Like, that's the kind of energy that I get. So again, mine is a lot of like feeling, like I just feel, and I guess claircognizance too, like I just feel and I just know, like I see these cards, I feel it, I know it. Like it's good. But it came from me practicing with clairvoyance and clear hearing and, you know, getting those messages. And again, I will get songs in the middle of readings. I will, you know, still see scenes and scenarios and everything. But a lot of the time it is just a lot to do with trusting that feeling of like, I really do feel like this is your situation. I feel like this is what's going on in your life, you know? And because of this that happened to me, I feel like this is what's happening for you. Okay? But please feel free to ask me anything down below, you guys. Ask anything. If anything wasn't clear enough for you, I would love to clear it up even more, because I just want to make sure that this is like the best, most descriptive video of all time ever. And if it's not descriptive enough, I'll make another one in the future. Like, I do not care. I really just want to make sure, because again, whenever I've watched these videos about like the clairs, it's always been like, yeah, like you have clear seeing, like you know, you see things happening for yourself and then they happen. Like, I don't know, it just felt so vague, and they never had any exercises like that. So I really wanted to have those exercises along with it, and then show you the top-down process of intuitive hits, processing, feeling emotion-wise, and then putting the logic into it. What does this logic mean? And then sort of making the big picture, putting the puzzle all together, as they say. So yeah, I'm praying that that brought you guys some clarity. I'm praying that this little mini reading helped you guys as well. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you very, very soon, okay? Goodbye.